So let me just put a twister on what we're discussing. So we are here for a bioenergy session in which we're discussing biofuels and emphasizing on the SAF part. So I'll go in that sequence as well in what I'm going to now talk about. But let me put a caveat. So just imagine if the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, we find that oil which we're looking for, and there's abundance of oil. India is a growing aspiration of being in its first industrial revolution in the years to come. We have never had an industrial revolution. We have aspirations of 1.4 plus billion people rising with population and aspiration both. And both the domestic needs and the industrial needs are going to rise. And the Honorable Finance Minister 2.5 years back in a public forum in a US-led consortium did mention while we were there that we're going to use coal for as long as possible, and that timeline is around 2020, 40, 45. That's the timeline where the peaking of coal utilization will happen in this country before we see various segments of decarbonization and eventually going into the retail sector towards the end of 2060-65 so that we meet our net zero targets by 2070. That's the aim. Now what happens if this twist of Andaman comes, I don't know, because while we have a Trump in USA, we have equally powerful people sitting in this country as well who knows what goes to charter. And if that happens, I don't know, Tushar, what happens to SF and Corsia, because Corsia can be twisted by both the United States and India near equally in the years to come. There are already representations. We are a few years behind. I remember in 2020, we were part, I think Praj Industry also part of the study by McKinsey, and we put out the white paper for Clear Skies for Tomorrow, something the subject was. And it had a whole lot of white paper recommendations for the government of the day. And I'm not too sure where we are and where we'll go. So I come from a systematic adorning of many hats. So what you have seen on the paper is Reviellie Energy. If you Google the word Reviellie, just Google the word, please, Reveille. Don't go to my website, it's very immature, but go to the word. The Oxford meaning, is about a bugle sound which is played in the Indian military to wake you up. So that is why I chose this word, because this is a wake-up call for our energy sector. And since I'm more into a consulting role through this particular company, I come from that. I'm also the DDG of Indian Federation for Green Energy. I'm also the advisor to Indian Bag Association. I'm on a couple of committees, no names, of the government of India where we look at schemes and policies, and courtesy to bigger brothers in the industry like Praj and others who are part of our profile. Even Red has risen up very fast with us. So I think we are a very good team. And in fact, at this table only from industry, we are three of us who are involved in a lot of things we do with the government of the day as well. So let's paint a picture first, where we are. And I will be critical of issues and quite polite in my tone as well. Just to bring home some points. You heard one critical story from Praj Industries about the journey of ethanol and SAF, and you heard from RED about the CBG part. And we have reached a timeline about challenges. So both the speakers have come from how the segments have grown, what the future holds, what are the challenges, and that's where we have stopped currently. So obviously somebody has to take it forward in terms of some recommendations of what could go ahead. So I will take that part a little later. But let me come on to the bioenergy scenario itself. So we are at a very cusp of a transition from fossil to non-fossil. And it's going to happen in all segments of our life. And today if you go and click on the IMO website, which is about the marine biofuels, it's also going to pounce on our country in next 2 years in a very, very big way, because that particular avenue is opening as we speak. The government is invested. There are institutions and forums in this country which are invested in that particular pathway. So that's one more emerging pathway which is coming up in terms of marine fuels as well. So when we see the three avenues, so both the speakers talked about biomass, and whichever form it is, whether it is agricultural waste or any other waste, it's biomass. And biomass today goes into three specific utilizations. And why I'm talking about them is because it's critical to understand that there's a finite amount of land this country has. There's a finite amount of biomass we will eventually produce, even into taking into account the current biomass. And then with all the plantation drives, whether energy or non-energy, we are going to take into the wasted lands of our country. So it's a fixed quantity. So when you see the biomass, MNRE may tell you that there is a study done by MNRE a couple of years back, 238 million metric tons, but that's 11 major crops. When you extrapolate that to the other crops, you are reaching a figure of about 750 to 1500 million metric tons, including the forest part. So that is the kind of reserve we have as a country. And if you peg this to a population of say 1.8 billion, which is what we are anticipating by 2070. So we're not going to grow exponentially. So there's a growth rate declining. So at that particular rate, we are going to have an energy demand. And this amount of biomass between 750 to 1500 million metric tons is going to equate to somewhere roughly around 10 to 15% of your energy segment of that day. In that day, at least this part of the table may not be alive. This part, yes, few of you will be there to see the results. So that is the good part about this entire transition. So people who are speaking today, people who are driving the change and taking decisions are accountable and responsible, but you cannot hold them responsible when the timeline comes of 2070. So it's very important to have other players, including, I always go for events and I try, and I've seen Dr. Garg also pushing a lot of students coming to his forums. I used to see it in the main hall in the last few years. That's a good way to, take the next generation ahead with you. The biomass goes into three specific streams. The first stream is the industrial stream, where power sector NTPC included, FMCG and other allied projects, they go into the boilers. So biomass densification for travel financial viability goes to the boilers. That's the end state of the boilers. Then the biomass burns, it's green, ash, whatever it is used for other industries as well. The second segment is the fuel segment. So two segments you heard today very much in detail, but many other segments are also opening up, like I mentioned about the marine fuels as well. So you have that, you have green hydrogen pathways where the government has put in about 400 crores for the R&D itself. And that is a pathway which we are also taking. We're talking about bio-LNG and other routes as well. The third segment is actually anything and everything. So today from the same biomass, you can make furniture, particle board, crockery, cutlery, stationery, packaging material, name it. You can make a nice bamboo shirt. I have one. And, this is all from the biomass itself. You can make shoes and other garments as well. So when you see these, they are not conflicting or competing currently, utilizations. But tomorrow in the regionalized spaces, there will be competing with each other. For example, if we don't create, and while I'm speaking, I will also narrate some recommendations there. So the first one is coming out to be, as my speech goes on, is about creating and delineating the command zones for bioenergy projects. So for example, if you go back 4 or 5 years back when Punjab government issued the first set of CBG LOIs, 20 of them, they put it in nearly 20 different districts. So it was a well-planned, thought-out thing that, okay, you must grow, but you must grow a little differentiated in time, and not time, but space at least. So if you don't do that, 11 bioenergy projects coming through the E2G route, which the country has planned, but not executed all of them. One of them, which is being very well done, is again Praj leading the, Indian flagship through Panipat project. But 2 are through gasification. So these 11 also have to consume biomass somewhere, right? They are in 11 different states. Similarly, those states will have, out of these 5,000 Satat scheme CBG, which will also grow from 5 to maybe 30,000 in some years or some century from now, they will also require the biomass. The boilers will also grow because the industrial requirement will also grow with the population needs in domestic and industrial terms. And so will your transportation. Everything will grow. So while everything will grow, unless you have delineated grounds and command zones in states and districts, you will have a problem in some locality in a localized fashion to start with. Today, if you say go to the state of Punjab and Patiala, there are already a couple of projects coming up in various natures of briquetting, pelleting, and CBG already there. So you may find a problem there. If you go to Bhatinda, where I think HPCL, if I'm not wrong, has announced a E2G project, whenever that comes up, there are already a couple of power plants there in the near vicinity which are also going to transition. One of them might shut, but the other one will run. And there's a E2G plant, and then there are CBG plants coming up already by the players today. So unless you plan this land, and land was the problem which Shivji was also mentioning too, that, how to and when to buy land. It's a good thing, Shivji, that, you're an Indian company, you can at least buy land, and you should buy it early as possible, because at least the land cost will escalate and you can get back your money in case your decision is not to put a project. But if I tell the same story to a Shell or a BP, they cannot, because they are foreign companies, their land acquisition has got a different, timeline. Unless a decision point is made to invest, the land cannot be procured. So you see, you're on a winning platform currently as far as the MNCs are concerned, so you can lead. Coming to the next issue is about, the various pathways. A value chain assessment is very important. This is a new term, probably nobody has coined, so take it from me, I have gifted it to you. So a value chain assessment has to be done for every pathway. Unless that is done, you heard Tusharji mention about how integrated that SA project can be. It has come up from the similar thought in what I call the value chain assessment, because you want to optimize your capex, your infusion of money there. You want to optimize how much intermediary products can be utilized further to make profits for you. And finally, the end product as well to be utilized. The key focus areas in biofuel today is only two. As I see it, there are more also evolving, like I mentioned, but CBG and SAF have no option. CBG does not have an option because the government has committed. The PSUs have been asked to remain committed, and SF has got no issue left because CORSIA norms are going to kick off on 1st January 2027, right? So that's the timeline you are seeing, and you are nowhere there, right, in terms of the percentages. The key challenges which come up are upstream sustainability, which is the feedstock part and all the upstream issues which you mentioned. Also the manufacturing cost, because the manufacturing cost and the capex requirement, greatly changes. The third challenge is how much are we investing in the R&D. I was very happy, you must have seen one of the slides by Tusharji on the right column. He mentioned about RNG, biobitumen, and a couple of more products. That is the way this country must shape. And while we're talking to the country, so let me reverse back. In which year did we gain independence? Anybody? Independence from the British. Why are you not sure? You should be sure, right? 1947. So say it. Right. So since 1947, now listen to me when I say this. We as a country have been sold things which we have bought. Right? We have been sold technologies, we have been sold products from the West, from the Europeans, from anybody else, and we have bought. We have bought a bulb, we have bought a LED, we have bought everything from shoes to cars from everybody else. We started like that. We never thought in 1947 that we should create our own system of R&D, and from there, step by step, whether through co-development, co-designing, or otherwise, grow our industry. The only place where we have done it very well, obviously initially with borrowed technology and later, a lot of indigenization, is the missile technology, area, where we had no options with ISRO and other components, even satellites. We have now tried to become a lot of self-reliance into our process, which is not there. The worry is that there are so many pathways for biofuels and bioenergy today that most of the ministries and industry are picking up the best practices, best technology, seeing the financial viability, and putting up projects where it makes sense in terms of P&L and going ahead. Look at the transport sector. I remember Shri Amitabh Kanji talking about this in 2020, right, in FICCI. And he said that by 2024, India will be all EV. Are we all EV? The answer is no. 2024 is already past tense, right? So it is very, very important to see what pathways to create. So today on the road we have gasoline, on the road we have EV, we have a prospect of hydrogen coming into play, and we have got 3-4 more pathways which people are looking into, right? Say tomorrow, as per Gadkari ji's wish, hydrogen comes below the dollar stake which he mentions. What is going to be transition? Is every vehicle going to be hydrogen based? Is every vehicle going to be, based on batteries in the next 10 years? What are the answers? What I'm alluding to is that while we have technology coming in and forcing our way and pathways, because every channel wants to tick what they've achieved in their tenures. That's our problem. That's our typical British problem, that the Britisher has to write my report card, so I have to show him in the next 5 years what I've done, right? Where is that long-term horizon and the vision to see the transition? So 2070, how many cars will be there? How many motorcycles will be there? How many, other kind of vehicles which might crop up there, including flying machines, right? Like these drones are flying today. What are they going to be fueled on? Where is that? So unless you know the end state, that how many industries are going to run, how much of energy they need, how much of domestic energy will be consumed, including transportation, how will you create the pathways which have to lead from now till then? So we are still going, driven by the global, infusion into our system. So somebody comes from Spain and he says, I have made this very beautiful, what is called that QSA kind of a, what is it called? Some name, I'm just forgetting. QSP or something, some panel, right? Some new panel which concentrates the solar rays and gives you energy beyond a point which you never imagined. So they sell it to you and you start putting it in all your parks in the solar field from Jaisalmer to Delhi. Somebody will come tomorrow with some technology into SAF and they will say this is the best because we started 15 years ago. No validation, nothing. And you will jump for that, but you will not go with Praj today because Praj is doing from R&D basis, so they are 10 years behind. So let's buy something from outside and then become dependent on that proprietary, right? So you have to think a little longer. And I'm not saying that Atmanirbhar Bharat means that India only for itself. It means that we have our own needs. This is the pathway. And you can be our partners along the pathway in A, B, C, D, including technology co-development. BrahMos is a very clear example. Although people were talking about it, the pyramid structure was very skewed after they made it. I mean, it's internal voice I'm saying. But now they're clapping and they're trying to sell it all over the world. It's a co-development, co-designing model. Who stops us to co-develop and co-design with Japanese, Australians, and any which country which is friendly to us? Nobody stops us, right? So those are the things to look at. When you see the journey of our policy landscape, basically, the few issues I want to just highlight. The involvement of the stakeholders. Today also, the biofuel and the bioenergy sector has not identified correctly the value of the key upstream holder, which is the farmer. Whether it's a farmer with a puny 0.5 acres, or it's a energy plantation, Naira group or a bigger group who's doing the plantation, the farmer actually is the stakeholder. In most of the projects, when they put up the DPR, they come to people like us and they say, give us a feasibility study of biomass. I don't do it, but there are many others in this country who give that report for a few dollars, and then you take it to the bank for a drawdown for your project. And then when the project is made, you go into some nice software, which PepsiCo and Coca-Cola are entitled to use, but you are using it also very, in a very, very irrelevant fashion. So you go to the market and you say, I want biomass, tender. Tender, reverse bidding. So with a project of an ethanol costing you more than 1,000, crores, with a CBG project coming in 60 to 100 crores, with a briquetting pelleting plant costing you 6 to 9 crores, what are you doing? You are going for the supply chain on the shopkeeper model, right? So today you give for 2 rupees, good. You are 3 rupees, not today. And you are creating all the risks which are associated with the upstream by yourselves. You saw the model of RED, so they are doing it on their own. They bought initially 56 machines or 50 some machines. So for the first few projects, they are comfortable. From that profit, they will buy more machines. So agnostic to everything else, they will grow their supply chain as well along with their projects. They may have a final stake of only 10% of the machinery today. They may build it to 20% tomorrow. Eventually, they will be forced to come to 40, 50% eventually to be a little more risk mitigated. But we are not doing it. So shopkeeper model is not going to work in this game. You can, yes, if you want to make a Crocs, slipper here in India as well, if the entire blob of whatever that chemical is coming, say, from Taiwan, the shipping line delay, COVID delay, you can map everything, you can plan your P&L. How do you plan P&L for a paddy straw? Because when the farmer protest happened, paddy was at how much? 1,200 rupees per metric ton. Then few nice, educated Canadians came to the protest side of farmers. And then they suddenly learned about this bioenergy shaping in India. Oh, big companies investing in Parali. Okay. So those big people with smartphones made up a WhatsApp group. Picked up all the weak farmers, everybody else with 1 baler, 2 baler. They made a baler association. And then they dictated the price point for the paddy next year, 1,600 rupees. If you had put that paddy plant at 1,200, cost with a Y-on-Y of 3%, 5%, you would have sunk the next year itself. So this is the market volatility because you're not correct, catering to the correct stakeholder. And you don't have to pay him 2 rupees, 3 rupees right now. You can pay him the 1 rupee. When you make your ethanol with the pathway with 15 more things made in between, with a small bottle of chemical which sells in Paris for a perfume for $1,000 per 100 ml, then you plow back that money back to the society, give that money as per CSR or profit sharing to the farmer, you will have this project running on your own steam. That is the way to involve the stakeholder, which we are missing the point. Cost of borrowing. The problem with the cost of borrowing is that everybody shows you the book. An American bank also, which runs on a GDP growth of less than 2%, will come to India and ask for 25%, 18%, 15%. right? Investing in dollars, converting it to rupees, hedging it in terms of the reserves they hold back, and still making us pay through our nose for all our projects being constructed. The Japanese are good. They give you loan for a bullet train, 1% or whatever it comes to finally is known. Why can't this be? So a bigger firm can hedge its value to a 3%, 4%, 6% loan. But how does a farmer who has to buy machines for aggregation get that loan? How does an entrepreneur coming into supply chain or briquetting, pelleting or boiler industry or CBG get that kind of money at low cost of borrowing? Somebody has to design this entire financial model in a way that it's palatable. Land. Land is not only for what Shivji said, land is also for warehousing, both in the upstream warehousing and the midstream warehousing before it's sold. It's common sense. Where is the skin of the game of the state governments? Federal structure. Now, since I've said federal structure, let me kill this point here only. Defense. How many of you know about union list and concurrent list? Ever heard of these terms? What are they teaching you in school? You heard. What is it? Yes, correct. So union list is something in which the center has the lane over that particular sector, which is defense. So if center decides that Andaman Nicobar will put this radar, no matter what, even if it's Indian territory or not, it will be put there. If center decides West Bengal, so-and-so place, there will be a radar, the Bengal government can say nothing about it, right? That's union list. Where is the energy? Concurrent list. So what happens? Great think tanks sit, they make white papers, the government says approved, and state says not ratified. And they're funnier states because they've got political, dislike. They don't even look at that policy. They will not let that happen in their state just because the center is a different government. So if you do that, so not only a Nano, which is an Indian company, will run away from you, how will a Tesla come into your city? It will not. How will a Lanza Jet or a Lanza Tech put up a plant of SAF knowing fully well that you are a coastal belt, but still you are not amicable to the government policies? Or the policies which, or the norms which the globe is following, you're not following it. So that's the problem again. Then we are looking at, like Tushar mentioned, standardization. Very, very important. Nothing in this sector in the upstream per se is standardized. Even in the midstream, there is no fixed standardization. So while you have some syllabus made for skill development and others which are little standardized, but nothing else. So a huge scope there as well. Skill development itself is a major issue. So I train somebody for supply chain, X company takes them away at 2x. Then the bigger fish comes into the market, they take from him also at 3x. So person who was earning 40,000 bucks here is today earning 3 lakh rupees there. Right? So there is a paucity, there is a huge gap between demand and supply of trained workforce in this country. 2018, if I'm not wrong, the government of India and said that we will have India International Centers, something on the concept of MRCs in Canada, where you train the immigrants going out and all that. So 6 countries we have signed MOU with. So we want to send skilled workforce there. How many skill centers we have of that nature? With government funding available? 0. So when I walk in and I say I want to do it, they say please do it. But why haven't we done for the last 7 years? So similarly is the issue within this sector. Technological advancements are very, very important to map, which we are not doing. We don't keep our ears and eyes open to search for, technologies, R&Ds happening across the globe. We as bigger companies also miss the opportunity to collaborate initially with such people and such companies. Whereas, see the other way around. One Samir Bhatia will make some app and Microsoft will bite at billions of dollars. And Samir Bhatia will feel very happy, right? Is there a reverse process you have seen ever? That one Indian will see a technology somewhere in America and buy their company out. Must be happening. I'm not saying it's not happening. But since you and me sitting here have not heard about any such example, that means it's not happening at the level which this country must pull. And this country must pull because the country has got one element which is the biggest element on earth today. It has got the most transparent working democracy which has got 1.4 billion, which is the biggest growing market on earth. You can make whatever you want to make. So like, for example, when Donald Trump says that I want to have, equitable trade tariffs, I had put a sort of an example to one minister. I said, in such and such thing, tell him to make it 0 tariff both sides. Right? Just a very, abstract example, don't take it as the face value. So for example, say in transport sector, this is not what I recommended, but just example came. We say zero tariff. So what happens? Tesla can come at zero value. What's the manufacturing cost of a Tesla? X dollars. It will not come less than that, even if everything is free. How many people in India can buy it? 2 lakh, 3 lakh people can buy it. That's it. But imagine if Mahindra and Tata's also become zero going that side. And now they up the ante, instead of 2 airbags, they put 7 airbags and better tires and things like that. And the cost becomes double of the car. It's still sellable there. For people who can't even afford good cars there, don't think that they're all rich there. Per capita income does not mean that they're all in Audis. It doesn't happen like that, right? So imagine the prospects. So it's the cross-pollination which the country must look at, right? From that to even the energy sector, which is the best market for India in the future. Any ideas? Any ideas? Which is the best market for us to go to? अरे अभी बोला मोदी जी ने यार global south बोला ना English में. Global south, right? Why are we talking about global south? Because whatever happens in India in the next 5 years will be replicated in Africa at least in the next 10 years. So if Praj is going to make a plant from R&D to upwards, or R&D is going to do something from the upstream management to creating a bigger CBG project, it will be the best people to go into the African continent in the years to come. Just two examples, two are sitting here. Like this, we have many more, right? What is the future of biofuels in India? Okay, so I can only say that, one sentence, that any energy transition has to have 3 elements, right? It has to be 100% in India affordable, available, and sustainable thereafter. These 3 words are key to plan any transition, whether it's any sector, but more so applicable here. Now let me come down to a few more challenges. I will just name 3 challenges of SF, because SF is the last part of this topic. Aggregation, you all agree. Financial viability, you all agree. And third is the sustainability, because demand in the aviation sector is going to double in the next 4 years. Are we prepared? How many Boeings are going to be made in the next 4 years? Any idea? In the next decade, till 2030 at least. The announcement is about 39,000 plus aircrafts, right? So while the planning has been done on the current, the future also, how much has Indigo and Tata's group, placed orders for? Worth about 1,500 each? Something like that. Now, few recommendations. I think we are already on time, so let me finish it. So, energy transition, I've talked about. Coordination is fine. Okay, so what I'll do is, I will not take any much of your time. There are about 35 recommendations here. I can't speak any one of them in the time now, because it's already 6 o'clock. And we can get in touch offline. In any case, if you is interested with the entire forum here, we're all available. You can Google us, you can do us on LinkedIn, you'll find us there. And happy to talk and engage, especially with entrepreneurs, right? I don't look at people who want to come to me for DPRs. Please don't come to me. I'm not the buy. There are many firms from Pune to Delhi who do it. Go to them. But if you're serious about a project, please do come. And as a mark of respect, if you don't mind, sir, this is the first event we are attending after that Air India Ahmedabad crash. If we can all stand up for a moment of silence, I will not even say 2 minutes, a moment of silence, it will be a nice, appropriate gesture as we close the day as well. So thank you for your time. Jai Hind.